This is one to write down, because I had this in the book, but make sure you remember this. MEHPA. It was passed in Florida. Okay? Mostly every other state in the Union, in this land of ours, has rejected it. Connecticut accepted it, but then they worked it around so that you didn't have so many different procedures in here in order to accost children from their homes and vaccinate them. Basically what it is if there is a national emergency declared, and we're going to go over national emergencies to see what a joke that is, through, let's say, some kind of germ infestation that they're exploding from balloons high above, or somebody's putting them in chocolate cream pies and delivering them in front of your house. They're basically saying that they have the authority to forcefully vaccinate you or quarantine you in your house if you don't get vaccinated. It was passed in Florida, I know that. So you might want to check that out for yourselves. But this is where it's coming from. The lobbying effect right now of the pharmaceutical companies is to really push this agenda to just really capitalize on the profit. I mean, they don't only want, your income, they now want your bodies. They want to be able to inject you with whatever they possibly can at this point. Hey folks, the only people who are going to be able to stop this is us. If you don't do anything, they're going to roll right over it and just say, okay, not a problem. If you speak up and say, hey, you're not doing that to me or my kid, things change. They really do. Part of the Medical Emergency Health Powers Act came from FEMA. How many people know what FEMA is? Okay, Federal Emergency Management Association. FEMA's been around for 25 years, and the idea, these are federal laws which, by the way, don't apply to you. Okay, just remember that, please. It's in my book. But what they do say, and what they will try to get you to believe that applies to you, is that when federal and state public health officials convince your governor to declare a public health emergency, they will have the authority to use the state militia to take control of all the roads in the state, seize your house, car, telephones, computers, everything they want, basically, get into your house, arrest and imprison you or any members of your family, including your children, for any reason they see fit, forcibly examine, vaccinate, and medicate you or your children without your consent, and not be held liable. This is the clincher. Not be held liable. This is in the Medical Health Emergency Procedures Act. What's it called? A waiver for the vaccine companies. Not be held liable if these actions result in your death, your child's death, or injury as a result of such actions. Basically, the president declares an emergency and it shuffles down to your governor. But let me tell you something. Don't be so scared of that. Because if you really look at your constitutional rights, and if you really look at your just unalienable rights, rights that you cannot be separated from, unalienable, these are your God-given rights, these are your Creator's rights that He has given to you. Forced vaccinations fall under the category of unreasonable seizure of your body, Fifth Amendment, Fourth Amendment, or the bodies of your children. They are the epitome of seizure of your being. Now, once again, I'm moving fast, but don't worry, we will have time for questions at this. Am jurisprudence is a volume of law which teaches judges how to rule in certain cases. Volume 16 is constitutional law. Section 97 tells judges how do you interpret the Constitution. How should you interpret, not only based on other cases, but based on what the Constitution actually says. Where are we? Section 98, effect of public emergency. Everything you see is about emergencies. Emergencies, emergencies, 9/11, emergency this. Oh, there's going to be an emergency. Oh my God, we're all scared of emergencies. Guess what? While an emergency cannot create power, and no emergency justifies the violation of any of the provisions of the United States Constitution or state constitution. Do you read that? Is that clear to you? Shall I read it again? No emergency! You see what that says? I don't care what the president says. I don't care what your governor says. No emergency has the ability to create new authority over your already granted, God-given, unalienable rights. Do you understand that? Okay. You need to remember that. Okay. Moving on further, this is how one of the Supreme Justices ruled. On the other hand, a contention that a grave emergency, such as a depression, or another stage 9/11, should permit construction of the constitutional provisions which would meet the emergency was rejected in one case, the court holding that neither the legislature nor the executive or judicial officer may disregard the provisions of the Constitution in cases of an emergency. Okay? It presents no question of construction. Basically what that means is that you can't build on the Constitution. It was given to you. These are God-given unalienable rights. You have them. Anybody tries to take them away from you, You tell them, sorry, you're not going to do that.
And if they force you?
We'll talk about that. Well, nobody can force you to do anything. It's voluntary compliance. Didn't you know that? What does the IRS ask you to do? Please sign this form under penalty of perjury voluntarily. They want you to volunteer for all this.